What's going on, everybody? Weekly Word 165 is Goals and Standards Revisited. If you go back and look at episode 60, I recorded the episode Weekly Word was Goal, and then in episode 122, I did Standard. And ironically, I did both of those episodes with Briley, which is really cool for me to have gone back recently and just revisited those. But as I looked at both of them together, it brought me to conclude that I wanted to do a weekly word that revisits goal and standard, but in the same weekly word. My boy Mike from the Spartan Leadership Program with the Travis Manion Foundation and I had been talking last month and then again just this past weekend about this concept of goals and standards. And essentially, as I talked about in Weekly Word 60 with Briley, she was in a position where, and I took some notes from the episode, where ultimately she realized that she could do something, that she would do something, and then she had done something. And the idea of writing down your goals and persevering towards getting to those are ultimately how you can go from I can do it to I have done it. Ultimately breaking down larger goals into smaller parts and then attacking them as you go so as to not be overwhelmed by the size of the goal. On the other side of it is standard. And in that episode, 122, Briley talked a lot about how it was difficult essentially to live up to the standard that I, as her father, had set. And she thought she had to be at my standard. And the interesting thing about that is when you really pull the string, and she did in episode 122, she basically got to the point where, you set your own standards and then you work towards those, not necessarily the standards that somebody else sets. All that background to get to where we are now. So today's the sixth day of this Movement Matters thing that I've been working on since the June 1st. And what I've realized in this journey is that while the standard is to move every day, you can still have goals associated with that movement. So today my standard was to go run 3 miles in addition to some other things, and to reflect on D-Day and all of those, that the ultimate sacrifice of 6/6 and all the things that happened at Normandy. But the standard was to go move. The goal was to go and do 3 miles under 30 minutes. And if I didn't hit 3 miles under 30 minutes, then that's okay. It's fine. It's totally fine. Why is it totally fine? Well, because tomorrow or the next day or 2 days from now, I can go and I can reattack the goal and try to get to it. As long as I understand that, as long as I'm working towards maintaining the standard, which could be the floor, then I'm doing something, and I need to be satisfied with the fact that I'm at least upholding the standard that I've set for myself. And along the way, if I achieve some of the goals, that's lanyap. That's money. That's awesome. And maybe we decide, depending on what the larger goal is, that the goal of today might become the standard of a month from now. And you just navigate that space as you go through the whole process. So, let's say that so this RV over here, we're trying to sell our Ainsley's Angels RV. Well, my standard is to drive the RV around enough so that different people see the for sale sign, and ultimately that could yield achieving my goal of selling the RV. But if I don't sell the RV today, did I meet my standard? Yeah, I drove it today. So I can be okay with the fact that at least I'm giving effort towards getting towards the goal. And as long as I can achieve the standard every day, then there you go. It's one step closer to where we're trying to get to. Let's say that you wanted to get to a point where you wanted to lose, maybe your goal was I want to lose 10 pounds. Well, okay, that's great, lose 10 pounds, but there's so much more to life than just losing 10 pounds, right? You can implement a standard in there that helps you remind yourself that it's not about necessarily achieving that goal and putting all of your energy towards that every day. Instead, maybe the standard is I'm gonna move every day. And maybe over time, I can achieve my goal. Over time. But be okay here and now with just achieving your standard, which is your floor, and eventually you get to the ceiling. Goal Standard, episode 165, revisiting those concepts.